First contact and invasion. The night sky over New Beijing glittered with stars, a view Commander Sarah Chen never tired of. From her post at the Lunar Observatory, she monitored deep space transmissions, searching for signs of extraterrestrial life. It was a job many considered futile, but Sarah believed humanity wasn't alone in the universe. On this particular night, her faith was rewarded, and her world turned upside down. A strange signal pulsed across her monitors, unlike anything she'd seen before. Sarah's heart raced as she ran it through every known filter and analysis program. There was no doubt this was an artificial signal of alien origin. "Control, this is Commander Chen. We have a confirmed extraterrestrial transmission. I repeat, we have first contact." Within hours, the news spread across Earth like wildfire. Governments convened emergency meetings, religious leaders offered conflicting interpretations, and billions of ordinary people looked to the stars with a mixture of hope and fear. As Earth's greatest minds worked to decipher the alien message, a new signal arrived. This one was clearer, more direct. It was an ultimatum. The aliens, calling themselves the Zarkax, demanded Earth's immediate surrender. They claimed ownership of the Milky Way galaxy and viewed humanity as primitive trespassers. Surrender meant survival as a subservient species. Resistance meant annihilation. World leaders debated furiously. Some advocated surrender, arguing that humanity couldn't hope to match an interstellar civilization technologically. Others insisted on fighting, unwilling to give up hard-won freedom. In the end, the decision was made for them. The Zarkax, impatient for a response, launched their invasion. Massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit, their sleek designs unlike anything humans had conceived. They effortlessly disabled satellites and space stations, plunging much of Earth into a communications blackout. On the ground, chaos erupted. In major cities, people fled or sought shelter. Military bases worldwide went on high alert, scrambling fighters and readying ground defenses. Sarah Chen, recalled from the Lunar Observatory, found herself in the heart of Earth's hastily assembled Defense Command. She worked tirelessly with a team of scientists and strategists, trying to understand the Zarkax technology and find weaknesses. The first Zarkax landings targeted strategic locations, military bases, seats of government, and major population centers. Their troops, encased in advanced armor that seemed to shrug off conventional weapons, carved swaths of destruction wherever they went. In Washington, D.C., Marine Captain Jake Rodriguez led a desperate defense of the Pentagon. His soldiers fought bravely, but their weapons seemed almost useless against the alien invaders. "Fall back," Jake shouted, ducking behind a destroyed Humvee as alien energy weapons scorched the air around him. "Regroup at the secondary position." As his troops retreated, Jake caught sight of a Zarkax soldier up close for the first time. The alien was tall, with 4 arms and a head that seemed too large for its body. Its eyes, cold and calculating, met Jake's for a moment. In that instant, Jake understood the magnitude of the threat humanity faced. Across the globe, similar scenes played out. The Zarkax advanced methodically, their superior technology and tactics overwhelming Earth's military forces. Traditional powers like the United States, China, and Russia found their mighty armies and advanced weapons systems woefully inadequate against the alien onslaught. In orbit, Earth's fledgling space forces were swatted aside like annoying insects. The International Space Station, humanity's foothold in space, was captured intact, its crew taken prisoner for study by the Zarkax. As the first day of the invasion drew to a close, the situation looked bleak. Major cities were under Zarkax control or siege. Military forces were in retreat worldwide. Millions were dead or missing. In the underground bunker that now served as humanity's main defense coordination center, Sarah Chen worked feverishly. She and her team had made some progress in understanding Zarkax communications, but it wasn't enough. They needed a breakthrough and fast. "There has to be something we're missing," Sarah muttered, poring over data streams. some weakness, some flaw in their systems. Nearby, military leaders argued over strategies and dwindling resources. The Zarkax had proven adept at targeting supply lines and manufacturing centers, crippling humanity's ability to sustain a prolonged conflict. As Sarah worked, a young analyst burst into the room, face pale with shock. "Commander Chen, we've decrypted more of the Zarkax transmissions. It's worse than we thought." Sarah took the offered tablet, her eyes widening as she read. The Zarkax weren't just invading, they were preparing to remake Earth itself. Terraform it to suit their own biology, wiping out most terrestrial life in the process. This wasn't just a war for freedom or territory. It was a fight for the very survival of humanity and all life on Earth. Sarah's hands shook as she delivered the news to the assembled leaders. The room fell silent as the full implications sank in. Finally, the President of the United States spoke, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Then we have no choice. We fight, not just for our freedom, but for our very existence. Humanity will not go quietly into the night. We will rage against the dying of the light." As murmurs of agreement filled the room, Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. The odds were stacked against them, the enemy overwhelmingly powerful. But humans had faced long odds before. They were creative, adaptable, and above all determined. The Zarkax thought they were facing a primitive species ripe for conquest. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. As the first day of the invasion ended and a long night began, humanity steeled itself for the fight of its life. In labs, bunkers, and hidden bases around the world, people worked tirelessly, searching for a way to turn the tide. The war for Earth had only just begun. Earth's initial defense. As dawn broke on the second day of the invasion, humanity's situation seemed dire. Major cities across the globe lay in ruins, with Zarkax forces establishing strongholds in strategic locations. Yet, in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit refused to break. In the depths of the Rocky Mountains, inside the remnants of the old Neowade complex, Sarah Chen and her team worked tirelessly. They had made a crucial discovery. The Zarkax communication systems operated on quantum entanglement principles, but with a unique signature that suggested a potential vulnerability. "If we can disrupt their quantum field," Sarah explained to the assembled military leaders, "we might be able to throw their entire command structure into chaos." General Miranda Hawks, a veteran of countless Earthbound conflicts, leaned forward. "How do we do that, Commander?" Sarah took a deep breath. "We need to get our hands on one of their intact communication devices. It's risky, but it's our best shot at finding a weakness." Across the Atlantic, in the scorched ruins of London, Captain Jake Rodriguez and his multinational squad of survivors prepared for a daring mission. Intelligence suggested a Zarkax command post had been established in the heart of the city, near the remains of Big Ben. "Remember," Jake briefed his team, "a mix of British SAS, French GIGN, and his own Marines. We're after their tech. Avoid engagement unless absolutely necessary." As night fell, the squad moved through the rubble-strewn streets. The once bustling metropolis was eerily quiet, broken only by the occasional sound of alien patrols or distant explosions. They reached their target, a Zarkax ship that had landed in Trafalgar Square, now transformed into an alien stronghold. Jake signaled to his tech specialist, Corporal Zoe Hassan. "Zoe, you're up. Find us a way in." Zoe, a prodigy in computer science before the invasion, pulled out a device of her own design. It was a hybrid of human and salvaged Zarkax technology, cobbled together in the days since the invasion began. "I think I can create a blind spot in their perimeter sensors," she whispered. "But it won't last long." Jake nodded. "Make it count." With bated breath, the team watched as Zoe worked her magic. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, a section of the energy barrier surrounding the ship flickered and died. "Now," Jake hissed. The team rushed forward, slipping through the gap seconds before it closed behind them. Inside the alien vessel, they moved swiftly and silently, years of training kicking in to spike the otherworldly environment. They located the communications hub, guarded by two Zarkax soldiers. Jake signaled, and in a coordinated move, his team neutralized the guards without a sound. Zoe, grab what you can. Everyone else, watch our backs. As Zoe worked to detach and secure Zarkax communication devices, an alarm suddenly blared through the ship. They had been discovered. Time to go, Jake shouted. The team fought their way out, Zarkax energy weapons sizzling past them as they ran. They'd burst out of the ship, only to find themselves surrounded by a platoon of alien soldiers. Just as all seemed lost, the night sky lit up with explosions. A squadron of rare typhoons, thought to have been destroyed in the initial invasion, rolled overhead, launching a barrage of missiles at the Zarkax positions. Cavalry's here. Jake grinned as he and his team used the chaos to slip away into the ruins of London. Back in the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Sarah received word of the mission's success. They did it, she breathed, relief washing over her. Now we have a chance. As Sarah and her team began the arduous task of decrypting the Zarkax technology, reports came in from around the world. Humanity, it seemed, was finding its footing. In the mountains of Afghanistan, local fighters who had spent decades resisting various invaders now turned their expertise against the alien threat. Using their knowledge of the treacherous terrain, they launched devastating guerrilla attacks on Zarkax supply lines. In the Amazon rainforest, indigenous tribes, intimately familiar with the dense jungle, became invaluable guides for military units, helping them strike at alien bases hidden beneath the canopy. Off the coast of Somalia, an unlikely alliance formed between naval forces and local pirates. Their intimate knowledge of the coastline and unconventional tactics proved surprisingly effective against Zarkax sea operations. These small victories, while not turning the tide of the war, gave humanity something it desperately needed: hope. However, the Zarkax were far from defeated. They responded to these setbacks with brutal efficiency, leveling entire cities in retaliation for acts of resistance. The aliens' technological superiority was still overwhelming, their numbers seemingly endless. In orbit, the situation was even more grim. The Zarkax maintained almost total control of Earth's immediate space, using it to coordinate their ground campaigns and prevent any attempt at organizing a cohesive global defense. Yet, even in space, humanity found ways to fight back. A team of astronauts, led by the resourceful Dr. Yuki Tanaka, had managed to hide the existence of a small, experimental space station from the aliens. From this hidden base, they launched daring raids on Zarkax ships, using prototype stealth technology to strike and vanish before the aliens could respond. As the first week of the invasion drew to a close, both sides had learned valuable lessons. The Zarkax, expecting an easy conquest, were forced to reckon with humanity's tenacity and adaptability. Humans, initially overwhelmed by alien technology, were slowly learning to counter it, their ingenuity and determination driving them to find solutions where none seemed possible. In her underground lab, Sarah Chen finally cracked the encryption on the Zarkax communication device. As data flooded her screens, her eyes widened. "This is it," she whispered. "This is how we fight back." The information revealed a critical weakness in the Zarkax quantum communication network. With the right approach, humanity could not only disrupt the aliens' communications, but potentially turn their own technology against them. As Sarah rushed to share her findings with military leadership, a new sense of purpose filled the air. For the first time since the invasion began, the tide seemed ready to turn. But the Zarkax were not about to give up their advantage easily. As if sensing the shift in momentum, they prepared to unleash a devastating new weapon, one that threatened to end the war before humanity's newfound hope could bear fruit. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of Earth and its inhabitants. Humanity had shown it could survive the initial onslaught. Now, it had to prove it could fight back. As military leaders pored over Sarah's findings and began formulating a global counteroffensive, a tense quiet settled over the world's battlefields. It was the calm before the storm, a moment of breath before plunging back into the fray. The war for Earth was about to enter its next crucial phase, the turning point. The discovery of the Zarkak's communication vulnerability ignited a spark of hope across Earth's battered defenses. Sarah Chen's breakthrough provided humanity with its first real chance to strike back effectively against the alien invaders. However, time was not on their side. In the skies above what was once Beijing, Dr. Yuki Tanaka piloted her stealth shuttle on a risky mission. Her small crew had been tasked with planting quantum disruptors on key Zarkak's ships. These devices, hastily constructed based on Sarah's research, were humanity's best hope for crippling the alien command structure. Approaching target, Yuki murmured, her hands steady on the controls despite the danger. Activating cloaking field, the shuttle shimmered and vanished from view, a feat of human ingenuity born from desperate times. As they neared the massive Zarkak's mothership, Yuki's co-pilot, former Air Force Major Tom Reeves, let out a low whistle. "Would you look at the size of that thing?" he breathed. "How were we supposed to take down something like that?" Yuki's expression remained determined. "One step at a time, Tom. Let's just focus on planting these disruptors." As they maneuvered closer, the true scale of the Zarkak's fleet became apparent. Hundreds of ships, from nimble fighters to enormous dreadnoughts, swarmed around the mothership like angry hornets. Suddenly, alarms blared in the shuttle's cockpit. "They detected us," Tom shouted, hands flying over the controls. Yuki gritted her teeth. "Impossible. Our cloaking field should be..." Her words were cut short as a Zarkak's energy beam lanced past them, missing by mere meters. The aliens had developed countermeasures faster than anyone had anticipated. "New plan," Yuki announced, ramming the throttle forward. "We're going in hot. Prepare for manual deployment." The shuttle rocketed towards the mothership, weaving through a hail of enemy fire. Tom hurried to the airlock, the precious quantum disruptors clutched in his arms. "This is insane," he yelled over the roar of the engines and the impacts of near misses. Yuki's voice came through his headset, calm despite the chaos. "Probably, but it's all we've got. Get ready to jump." As they approached the mothership's hull, Yuki expertly maneuvered the shuttle into a barrel roll, bringing them terrifyingly close to the alien vessel. Tom didn't hesitate. He leaped from the open airlock, magnetic boots securing him to the Zarkak's ship's surface. "I'm on," he reported, already working to plant the first disruptor. "Get out of here, Yuki." "Not without you," came the stubborn reply. The shuttle continued its daring dance through enemy fire, drawing attention away from Tom as he worked. Minutes felt like hours as Tom planted disruptor after disruptor. Finally, with the last device in place, he took a running leap back towards the shuttle. For a heart-stopping moment, he floated in space, enemy fire crisscrossing around him. Then Yuki was there, the shuttle swooping in to scoop him up. As the airlock sealed behind him, Tom collapsed to the floor, adrenaline leaving him in a rush. "Did we do it?" he gasped. Yuki's triumphant voice filled the shuttle. "Disruptors are online. Let's get out of here and watch the fireworks." As they retreated to a safe distance, the effects of their mission became clear. The Zarkak's fleet, once a model of coordinated efficiency, fell into disarray. Ships collided, weapons fired wildly, and the mothership itself seemed to list aimlessly in space. On the ground, the impact was equally dramatic. Zarkak's ground forces, cut off from central command, found themselves outmaneuvered by human resistance fighters who had been waiting for just such an opportunity. In London, Captain Jake Rodriguez led a daring assault to retake the city center. His troops, a mix of professional soldiers and civilian volunteers, fought with renewed vigor. "Push forward," Jake shouted, leading the charge down Oxford Street. "They're disorganized. Hit them hard." The Zarkaks, their advanced weapons and armor suddenly less effective without coordinated tactics, fell back under the human onslaught. For the first time since the invasion began, significant territory was being reclaimed. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Rio de Janeiro, local militias emerged from the favelas to overwhelm alien strongholds. In Moscow, a combination of military forces and civilian hackers turned the Zarkaks' own automated defense systems against them. But the aliens were far from defeated. As the disruptor's effects began to wane, the Zarkaks adapted. They switched to more localized command structures, sacrificing some of their previous coordination for increased resilience. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Sarah Chen watched the unfolding events with a mixture of hope and anxiety. "We fought ourselves some time," she reported to General Hawks, "but they're already working to counter our disruption." The general nodded grimly. "Then we need to press our advantage while we have it. What's the status on Project Phoenix?" Sarah pulled up a series of complex schematics on her screen. "We're close. With the data we've gathered from their ships, we think we can adapt some of their technology to our own vessels. It's risky, but if it works, we take the fight to them," Hawks finished. "Make it happen, Commander. You've got every resource we can spare." As Sarah threw herself into the work, reports continued to pour in from around the world. Humanity was bloodlight but unbowed, fighting with a ferocity that seemed to surprise even the Zarkaks. In orbit, Dr. Tanaka and her team continued their hit-and-run tactics, emboldened by their earlier success. They managed to capture a small Zarkak scout ship, a prize that promised to accelerate human understanding of alien technology exponentially. But the Zarkaks were far from idle. As humanity celebrated its first major victories, the aliens were preparing a counterstroke. Deep in the heart of their mothership, Zarkak scientists worked tirelessly on a weapon that threatened to end the war in one devastating blow. The weapon, a gravitational pulse device of unimaginable power, had the potential to tear the Earth apart at its seams. It was a last resort, one that would destroy the very prize the Zarkaks had come to claim. But their military leadership was growing desperate in the face of unexpected human resilience. As the device neared completion, a lone Zarkak scientist named Sixara found herself facing a moral dilemma. Unlike many of her kind, she had come to respect the humans' tenacity and ingenuity. The thought of obliterating an entire world, with all its diversity and potential, filled her with dread. In a decision that would alter the course of the war, Sixara chose to act. Using the confusion still lingering in the Zarkaks' communication networks, she managed to transmit a warning to Earth. The message, picked up by Sarah Chen's team, was brief but clear: "Gravitational weapon. Earth in danger. Act now." As the implications of the message sunk in, a grim determination settled over Earth's defenders. The next phase of the war would determine not just the fate of humanity, but the very existence of their home planet. Sarah looked up from her console, meeting General Hawks' stern gaze. "We're out of time," she said simply. "Project Phoenix needs to launch now, ready or not." Hawks nodded, reaching for the comm system to alert all commands. "Then may God have mercy on us all," he murmured, "because it's clear the Zarkaks won't." As Project Phoenix scrambled into action and Earth's remaining military forces prepared for a desperate gambit, the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The Zarkaks' weapon neared completion, while humanity raced to unlock the secrets of alien technology in time to save their world. The war for Earth was about to reach its climax, with the very fabric of the planet at stake. Humanity's counterattack. The revelation of the Zarkaks' devastating weapons sent shockwaves through Earth's remaining command structures. With time running out, humanity prepared to launch its most daring offensive yet. Project Phoenix, the fruit of Sarah Chen's tireless work, was a fleet of hybrid ships that combined the best of human ingenuity with reverse-engineered Zarkaks technology. As the first of these vessels rose from hidden underground hangars, their crews, a mix of seasoned pilots and brilliant scientists, knew the fate of the world rested on their shoulders. Admiral Kira Yoshida, a veteran of the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force, stood on the bridge of the flagship, christened Hope's Dawn. Her weathered face was set in grim determination as she addressed the fleet. Men and women of Earth, her voice carried across all channels. Today we fight not just for our freedom, but for our very existence. The enemy thinks they have us cornered, but they've underestimated the human spirit. We may be outnumbered and outgunned, but we will not go quietly. Today, we show the Zarkax what humanity is truly capable of. A chorus of cheers erupted across the communication channels as the Phoenix fleet launched their advanced stealth systems, allowing them to slip past the Zarkax's orbital defenses undetected. Meanwhile, on the ground, diversionary attacks were launched worldwide to keep the alien forces occupied. In the ruins of Paris, Captain Jake Rodriguez led a multinational force in a frontal assault on a major Zarkax stronghold. "Push forward," Jake shouted, ducking behind a collapsed wall as alien energy weapons scorched the air above him. "We need to keep their attention here." His second-in-command, a French legionnaire named Jean-Pierre, fired a salvaged Zarkax weapon at an approaching alien tank. The vehicle exploded in a spectacular fireball, momentarily lighting up the pre-dawn sky. "It seems we're getting their attention, mon capitaine," Jean-Pierre grinned, the thrill of battle evident in his voice. Jake nodded grimly. "Let's hope it's enough." As similar battles raged across the globe, the Phoenix fleet approached the massive Zarkax mothership. In the lead ship, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked furiously at her console, coordinating with Sarah Chen back on Earth to fine-tune their disruptive technologies. "We're detecting unusual energy readings from the mothership," Yuki reported to Admiral Yoshida. "It could be the weapon charging up." Admiral Yoshida's face hardened. "Then we have no time to lose. All ships, prepare for attack pattern Omega. May fortune favor the bold." The Phoenix fleet split into 3 groups. The main force, led by Admiral Yoshida, would engage the Zarkax fleet directly. A smaller, faster group led by Yuki would attempt to infiltrate the mothership and disable the gravitational weapon. The third group, commanded by Major Tom Reeves, would provide cover and distraction. As the human ships decloaked and launched their assault, the space around Earth erupted into chaos. The Zarkax, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of a technologically advanced human fleet, scrambled to respond. Yoshida's voice rang out over the comms. "All ships engage at will. Remember your training and trust in each other. We are humanity's last hope." The battle that followed was unlike anything in human history. Advanced energy weapons clashed with Zarkax technology, fighter craft danced deadly ballets around capital ships, and the void of space lit up with explosions that rivaled the stars in brightness. On board the Hope's Dawn, Admiral Yoshida orchestrated the battle with the precision of a symphony conductor. "Group 3, press your attack on their left flank. Group 7, watch your 6. Despite being outnumbered, the Phoenix fleet's hybrid technology allowed them to hold their own against the Zarkax. The element of surprise, combined with the aliens' still recovering command structure, gave humanity a fighting chance. Meanwhile, Yuki's infiltration team approached the mothership. Using a combination of stealth technology and daring piloting, they managed to slip through a gap in the Zarkax defenses. "We're in," Yuki reported, her voice tense with concentration, "beginning our approach to the weapon chamber." As Yuki's team fought their way through the labyrinthine interior of the mothership, the battle outside reached a fever pitch. Major Ree's distraction group performed feats of piloting that would have been considered impossible mere months ago, drawing Zarkax fire away from Yuki's position. On Earth, Sarah Chen and her team worked tirelessly to support the space battle, using their quantum disruption technology to sow chaos in the Zarkax ranks. But the aliens were adapting quickly, and Sarah knew their advantage wouldn't last long. "We need to end this soon," she muttered, fingers flying over her keyboard as she worked to stay ahead of the Zarkak's countermeasures. Back on the mothership, Yuki and her team finally reached the central chamber housing the gravitational weapon. What they found there stopped them in their tracks. The weapon was massive, a swirling vortex of energy that seemed to distort the very fabric of space around it. And standing before it, working frantically at a control panel, was a lone Zarkax, Zixara, the scientist who had warned Earth of the weapon's existence. "Stop," Yuki called out, raising her weapon. "Step away from the controls." Zixara turned, her alien features unreadable to human eyes. "I am not your enemy," she said, her words translated through a device on her suit. "I am trying to disable the weapon, but I need your help." For a moment, Yuki hesitated, years of fighting the Zarkax warring with the opportunity before her. Then, making a split-second decision that could determine the fate of the war, she lowered her weapon. "Tell us what to do," Yuki said, moving to join Zixara at the control panel. As Yuki and Zixara worked to sabotage the weapon, the battle outside reached its climax. Admiral Yoshida's forces had managed to punch through the Zarkax lines, but at a heavy cost. Half of the Phoenix fleet was destroyed or heavily damaged. "This is our last push," Yoshida's voice crackled over the comms, strained but unbroken. "Give it everything you've got." In that moment, as humanity teetered on the brink of either victory or annihilation, the gravitational weapon began to power up. A low hum filled the mothership, growing in intensity until it seemed to shake the very stars. Yuki's voice, tight with tension, came through the fleet's speakers. "We've almost got it. Just a few more seconds." The Zarkax, realizing their weapon was in danger, launched a desperate counterattack. Enemy ships swarmed towards the mothership, intent on stopping Yuki's team at any cost. Major Reed's voice cut through the chaos. "We'll hold them off. Just finish the job." As Reeves and his pilots engaged in a desperate dogfight around the mothership, Yuki and Zixara worked feverishly to override the weapon's systems. The energy buildup reached a critical point, the chamber filled with a blinding light. Then, just as all seemed lost, Yuki's triumphant shout rang out. "We did it. The weapon's overloading." A massive shockwave erupted from the mothership, but instead of tearing the Earth apart, it rippled harmlessly through space. The Zarkax fleet, caught in the wave, found their systems scrambled and ships disabled. Admiral Yoshida's voice, filled with a mixture of disbelief and triumph, echoed across all channels. "The enemy fleet is disabled. Press the attack for Earth." As the remaining Phoenix ships surged forward, mopping up the defenseless Zarkax vessels, a new era in human history dawned. The invasion was over, but the war had changed humanity forever. In the aftermath of the battle, as the adrenaline of victory faded, the enormity of what had been accomplished began to sink in. Humanity had not only survived an alien invasion, but had emerged victorious against a technologically superior foe. The cost had been enormous. Cities lay in ruins, millions had perished, and the scars of war would take generations to heal. But in this darkest hour, humanity had shown its true strength, not just in its ability to fight, but in its capacity for innovation, cooperation, and even forgiveness. As the Phoenix fleet began the journey back to Earth, carrying with them Zixara and the secrets of Zarkax technology, the future seemed uncertain but full of possibility. The stars, once a source of terror, now beckoned with the promise of exploration and discovery. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger for it. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but for the first time since the invasion began, hope blazed brightly for the future of Earth and its people. Final battle. As the Phoenix fleet made its triumphant return to Earth, carrying the disabled Zarkax mothership in tow, a new challenge emerged. The Zarkax High Command, furious at the loss of their superweapon and the defection of Zixara, had dispatched their most elite battle brute to crush the human resistance once and for all. Admiral Kira Yoshida stood on the bridge of the Hope's Dawn, her eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the approaching Zarkax Armada. Despite their recent victory, the Phoenix fleet was battered and depleted. The upcoming battle would push humanity to its absolute limits. All ships, battle stations, Yoshida's calm voice belied the gravity of the situation. This is what we've been fighting for. Let's finish this. On Earth, Sarah Chen and her team worked feverishly to integrate the knowledge gained from Zixara and the captured Zarkax technology. In a hidden facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, they raced against time to unlock one final secret that could turn the tide. We're close to a breakthrough, Sarah reported to General Hawks, her eyes bloodshot from days without sleep. If we can just crack this last encryption, we might have a way to shut down their entire fleet at once. Hawks nodded grimly. Do what you can, Commander, but be prepared for the worst. If your team can't find a solution, we'll have to face them with what we've got. As the Zarkax fleet entered the solar system, Earth's defenses mobilized for one last stand. The remaining Phoenix ships formed a protective screen around the planet, while hastily upgraded ground-based weapons prepared to offer supporting fire. In orbit, Dr. Yuki Tanaka and her team worked alongside Zixara to modify the captured mothership. If they could bring its systems online, it could provide crucial firepower in the coming battle. Auxiliary power restored, Yuki called out, her hands flying over alien controls. Weapons systems at 60% capacity. It's not much, but it'll have to do. Zixara, her alien features set in determination, added, I've managed to reactivate some of the defensive shields. They won't last long against sustained fire, but they might buy us some time. As the two fleets closed in on each other, an eerie calm settled over the battlefield. In cities and bunkers across the globe, humans held their breath, knowing that the next few hours would determine the fate of their species. Captain Jake Rodriguez, now commanding a hybrid tank battalion outside the ruins of Moscow, addressed his troops. I know you're scared. Hell, I'm scared too. But remember what we're fighting for. Our homes, our families, our very existence. The Zarkax think they can break us, but they don't know what humans are capable of when our backs are against the wall. Today, we show them. A cheer went up from the assembled soldiers, a mix of hardened veterans and civilian volunteers united in their determination to defend their home. In space, the battle began with a fury that dwarfed all previous engagements. The Zarkax elite forces lived up to their reputation, unleashing devastating new weapons that tore through the human defenses. Evasive maneuvers. Admiral Yoshida shouted as a barrage of energy torpedoes streaked towards the Hope's dawn. The ship shuddered under the impact, shields flaring as they barely held. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. The Phoenix fleet fought with desperate courage, but they were slowly being pushed back. Earth's orbital defenses opened fire, filling space with a web of missiles and energy beams, but the Zarkax pressed on relentlessly. On the ground, Jake's forces engaged Zarkax landing parties in brutal close-quarters combat. The streets of Moscow became an apocalyptic war zone as human and alien technology clashed in a final desperate struggle. Hold the line, Jake roared, his voice nearly drowned out by the sound of explosions and weapons fire. We can't let them establish a beachhead. As the battle raged on, Sarah Chen and her team made a breakthrough. We've done it, she exclaimed, her voice filled with equal parts exhaustion and exhilaration. We found a way to create a cascading failure in their quantum communication network. If we can deploy it, it should disable their entire fleet. But there was a catch. The device needed to be deployed from within the heart of the Zarkax fleet to be effective. It was a suicide mission, with almost no chance of survival for whoever volunteered. Admiral Yoshida, hearing the news, made an immediate decision. I'll take it, she said, her voice calm and resolved. The Hope's dawn can punch through their lines. We'll deliver the payload. Despite protest from her crew, Yoshida's mind was made up. As the device was transported to her ship, she addressed the fleet one last time. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve with you all. Whatever happens next, know that your courage and sacrifice have given humanity a future. May fortune favor the brave." With that, the Hope Storm surged forward, plowing through the Zarkak's lines in a daring charge. Enemy fire converged on the ship, its shields failing and hull breaching, but still it pressed on. In a final, heroic moment, Admiral Yoshida guided her crippled vessel into the heart of the enemy formation. "For Earth," she whispered, and activated the device. A blinding pulse of energy erupted from the Hope Storm, engulfing the Zarkak's fleet. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. Then, one by one, the alien ships began to drift, their systems going dark. The sudden silence was deafening. Then, a single voice broke through on all channels. It was Major Tom Reeves, temporarily taking command of the fleet. "The enemy is disabled. All ships, press the attack. Finish this." What followed was not so much a battle as a rout. The remaining Phoenix ships, joined by Earth's defenders, overwhelmed the powerless Zarkak's vessels. Some alien ships self-destructed rather than face capture, while others surrendered, their crew realizing the war was lost. On Earth, the surviving Zarkak's ground forces found themselves cut off and surrounded. Without support from their fleet, they were quickly overcome by human forces emboldened by the prospect of victory. As the last shots faded and the realization of victory began to sink in, a mixture of jubilation and disbelief swept across the planet. Humanity had done the impossible. They had faced extinction and emerged triumphant. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the true cost of the war became clear, Earth faced a new challenge: how to rebuild, how to move forward, and perhaps most importantly, how to ensure such a threat never caught them unprepared again.